WFMY Plus, good to see you here. Tim Buckley with you. Claire Fry will be joining us in a second. We're watching scattered thunderstorms that have been popping up across the Triad. Just finishing up with our evening newscast and wanted to give you a little bit of bonus coverage here just to show you what we're seeing now, what could happen as we go into the later evening hours. This is a similar storm threat to last night, but a little bit different. Why? Well, we've already seen a lot of these popping up in the afternoon, which means there might not be quite so many later on. The main things we've already seen and will continue to find: scattered downpours and thunderstorms. Yeah, that's what we want you to be aware of. Good idea to charge up those phones. It is possible we could see a few more power outages. There have been some so far today up in Rockingham County. Gusty winds, yeah, that's the reason for power outages in a lot of cases. We also have a ton of frequent lightning. That's been a factor in the storms last night, the storms today as well. With all the heat and humidity, it's really easy to get very electric thunderstorms. Now, some of these storms too have been slow movers. We have a slow moving thunderstorm, obviously heavy rain. It lasts a little bit longer than it would otherwise, but I do have some words of encouragement here for you. So let's start out by tracking in Guilford County. I'm going to play you this out a couple more times so you can get the lay of the land. Right now, still seeing storminess in downtown Greensboro, but here's a good sign. The severe thunderstorm warning is gone. There was one earlier that expired about 15 minutes ago. So the storm is not getting any stronger. It's actually getting a little bit weaker. It is getting stronger up in northeast Guilford County. We'll want to watch that area. But what I wanted to point out to you, and I'm going to switch this loop here on the fly. Let's push this back about an hour or so. So if we go back about an hour in time, what you'll notice is that these storms have a shelf life, which is to say it started forming about 1 hour ago. Notice it's not really maintaining itself. So you have the storm and then it starts to weaken, especially up here on the northwest side. It can't use up that same air over and over again. What it has to do is kind of reform in different areas. So it started up here, then it reformed down there. Now it's reforming over there. They're always gobbling up new areas with more warmth or more humidity. So I would expect if you're in southeast Guilford or maybe in Burlington, other parts of Alamance County, you could be up next. That could be where these storms decide to kind of migrate and move to after that. So let's take a little bit of a zoomed in view. We'll go to downtown right now. Hoppers are trying to play ball. I'd imagine they'd have to be in a delay right now. That's downtown, Market Street, Battleground, Summit Avenue. Still raining like mad, but there's not as much lightning, which indicates the storm is a little bit weaker, at least from an intensity standpoint. Earlier, we had some hail falling from this storm. That too is likely to be a little bit less right now. The worst part of this is up in northeast Guilford. As I said, parts of Alamance County too and Caswell. This whole side of things right over here is a big cluster of heavy rain and lightning that we have been seeing in a lot of these storms. They're all clustering together. They start as small ones and then they become a bigger storm. We saw that last night too. If you're in Alamance County or in Burlington, you just think you have a dome over top of you or some kind of force field. Reason being, it hasn't really rained all that much the last several days in those areas. And this one, it'll be another close call. Something else I want to point out to you right here. Let's take a look on Highway 87. So here's Burlington. This is Elon. That's right around where campus is. The storm several miles to the north. Let's measure that mileage for you. But I want to take the measuring stick and look from here to there. This is at least about 3 miles away from the storm. That's a lightning strike. So one thing we're seeing right now, these storms are incredibly tall. And when you have a very, very tall thunderstorm cloud, that lightning can start up in this part and hit miles away. So you can have blue sky and still get struck by lightning. That could be the danger in Elon right now. So you want to be watching that very carefully. That to me looks to be the strongest storm on the board right now. Downtown Greensboro, probably waiting another 30 minutes or so to clear out this heavy rain. Hang tight. By 7 o'clock, it should be improved a little bit. Elsewhere in the region and in the area, what do we have going on? Well, we have a little cluster of storms down near Charlotte. There's nothing developing right now in Davidson or in Randolph counties. Forsyth County, you're pretty much in the clear right now too. This flash flood warning pops up on the map. Why? Well, that's where we had a real nasty storm earlier in Madison and Mayodan. And if we look at the estimated rainfall map, this is always constantly updating. And what we're finding is that earlier today, this yellow shade and the orange little speck right there along Highway 65, that's a real heavy rain spot. So we had a flood threat developing over here, estimated to be about 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. That was on the Stokes County border, closer to Pine Hall, Madison, and Mayodan. So these summer storms, when they sit on you, you're done. And there really is a lot of rain that can be happening. So again, these thunderstorms are continuing. There is a severe weather threat with them. It's not all that high right now, but it is something we want you to know about, and certainly something that'll impact you. It's a weather impact as we go through the rest of your evening. Live view over Burlington. Our camera is actually looking off into the storm direction over toward the west, easy for me to say, and you are able to see some of those downpours falling from the sky. If you ever see something like that, that is rain falling actively right now, and that's the case in Burlington. Totally different story in High Point. High Point is in Guilford County. We just showed you what it's like in Greensboro. This is what it's like in High Point. So it just depends on where you are. But bottom line, there are still some storm threats as we go through the next couple of hours. I do want to look at the temperature map, then I'm going to toss it over to Claire Fry, who's here with us tracking these storms. We've been looking at behind the scenes for several hours throughout the day today. Numbers right now, another part of our heat wave, of course. We've been in the 90s all week long. We still are. Raleigh's been untouched from any storms today. They're in the mid 90s right now, but it's 82 in Greensboro and in Burlington. Winston-Salem, not that bad, 74 in Reedsville. That's because you've got that rain cooling you down. And Claire, it's not a bad thing to get the downpours today. You can get a little bit of heat relief. That's the nice part. But what we don't want to see is any of the hail, the high winds, the power outages, things like that. So I'm going to toss it over to you for another look at the radar.
All right, thanks so much, Tim. We've been keeping an eye on these showers and storms, but I did want to reiterate that while some of us have been seeing that rain-cooled atmosphere, we're back in the 70s and 80s, we still are under a heat advisory for the next 25 minutes or so due to the fact that some of us, like you just saw on Tim's temperature map, are still in the upper 80s to right at around 90. You saw Raleigh was still in the 90s. We're still feeling like we are near in the triple digits this afternoon for some of us. If you haven't seen those showers and storms, that can help kind of cool you off. So with that being said, here's a look at the feels like temperatures over the last 20 hours. These last several days, we've been kind of focusing in on the heat as well as the storm threat just from yesterday and into the day today, but we've seen triple digit heat index values, which is super dangerous. That is extensive heat to the area. It feels like temperatures just in the last several hours have been slowly kind of approaching the triple digit mark right at around 98 into 1 and 2 o'clock. But with those showers and storms, that dropped those feels like temperatures back into the 90s and then back into the 80s as we kind of continued to go throughout the evening all the way up until now as we approach 6:40. So this weather impact alert now kind of continues to push toward the storm threat for the night tonight as that heat advisory is continuing to get dropped here in around a little over 20 minutes. So this weather impact alert is more so for strongest severe thunderstorms, and we've continued to see more and more just the last couple of hours, a lot of them featuring hail, cloud to ground lightning, and of course damaging wind gusts across the area. You're just going to want to make sure you're keeping an eye to the sky, especially if you have any sort of outdoor plans this evening, like for the Grasshoppers game, right? They just were supposed to have their first pitch at 6:30, and with these showers and storms continuing to kind of push up into Guilford County, I expect most of them are going to be in delays for those sports, at least for the next hour or so as that storm continues to kind of sit over the area. Kind of looking at a wider view, I did want to show you that we are not only the ones that are seeing more scattered showers and thunderstorms across the area, but we've been seeing plenty in portions of Virginia, also to our south in South Carolina, as well as in Georgia. To kind of zoom in right now on the areas in the Triad, we're continuing to track this storm that was severe not too long ago. Continues to be a strong thunderstorm right now, impacting portions of northern Alamance County, southern Caswell, southern Rockingham, and also northeast Guilford County. We're also looking at still watching that flash flood warning that's still in effect until 11:15. You really can't see much going on right now in that Circle 4 right now, but that was a completely different story just within the last hour or two, where we had lots of heavy rainfall and a severe thunderstorm warning in portions of those counties. This is still going to continue through around 11:15, but they've already seen between around 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. So any more that they get tonight, of course, is going to be on top of that. So we'll have to be keeping an eye on that. That's another risk with these storms. When they're very slow moving, it can be a lot of rain in a very short amount of time, which can lead to flash flooding. So if you happen to see a flooded roadway, please do not attempt to drive in it. So I wanted to kind of show you where, as of right now, we are on the radar where these storms kind of stand. I'm really seeing the highest reflectivity, which indicates the highest rain rates, across the area in northeast Guilford County here, right across the lines of Caswell, Rockingham, Alamance, and you can see a lot of lightning also. And within these other pockets, they're not quite as strong across the area, but we're still going to kind of zoom in on those. This one right here over the heart of Greensboro, where we just had a severe thunderstorm warning bring in lots and lots of hail across the region. Not seeing quite as much of a strong cell, but still seeing some pretty locally heavy showers over Eastgate City Boulevard and Westgate City Boulevard over there toward Benjamin Parkway. These were some of the hail tracks that were in those showers and storms just a couple of minutes ago, I should say. Hail size up to around an inch or so. That's along Pisgah Church Road. Then right here near the heart of downtown Greensboro, this is along Chapman Street, Madison Avenue, right over here toward Lindley Park, where I saw hail sizes up to around between half an inch all the way to an inch or so across the area. And the next couple of hours, we're going to have to continue to kind of be on the lookout for not only the hail and those showers and storms, whether or not they get severe or not across the area, still very impactful, damaging winds across the region. And of course, the isolated flash flooding risk. This is the estimated rainfall that we've seen just for the day today that I showed you within that flash flood warning for Rockingham and Stokes County, right along the county line that continues until around 11:15. Here are some of those amounts, up between around 3 to 4 inches of rainfall, and that's excluding anything that we may get to see into the night tonight. So keep that in mind. Storm reports for today as well. I wanted to show you these before I toss it right back over to Tim to kind of get his opinion and maybe start to wrap up coverage a bit. We're also looking at Yadkin County and also into Wilkes County, where there were also trees blown down. There was one tree blown down along Taylor Street. I've been talking about this for the last couple of hours. And also another large tree that was blown down on a home and damaged part of it. This was around a 6 to 8 foot tree that actually fell down. As we kind of zoom out, we're continuing to track coverage of these showers and storms as they push into the area all the way through around midnight tonight. And with that, I'm going to toss it right back over to Tim Buckley. How are you?
Thank you, Claire. We're still watching the storms, right? And it's good that you just showed those reports from out in the foothills because we got some good pictures out that way too. This is from Sarah. Sarah's over in the Yadkin County region, and you can see the way that these storms are today. Dark, ominous clouds, that wall of water. Look, and that's the way it was over there. Sarah snapping that photo, sending it in to us. We always appreciate when you do that. This storm did produce some damage when it comes to those downed trees that Claire was just telling you about. Jason, he's in Greensboro. This on the Lawndale Drive side of town, pretty much up there near the Urban Loop, the new one, if you're familiar with that. Very heavy rain, and you might be able to pick it out or not. He told me there were some small hail stones. We don't have sound on this, but you can kind of see them bouncing a little bit. Not big hail, not the kind that would dent your car like we had a couple months ago, but still something noteworthy. Wanted to point this out on our visible satellite picture earlier today, just a little behind the scenes of what happens with thunderstorms. When they're kind of rolling like that, you can see these little fronts. We call them gust fronts or outflow boundaries. It's that cool air that rushes outside of a thunderstorm and it moves in all directions. And when it does that, it can actually create new ones. So we've seen that happening and come into play today, these little fronts kind of moving around, and now we're seeing one that's moving over into Burlington and Alamance County. So that could be where we start to see our next storms popping up. The Futurecast isn't super helpful in a situation like this, but I do like to show the live radar once more before we go. Storms are starting to fizzle over downtown Greensboro. They will linger a little longer in northeast Guilford. I would expect next up Alamance County. You're going to be the one that starts to get storms for a change here over the next 30 minutes to 1 hour from Burlington to Graham or so. Elsewhere, if you're watching us from Randolph County, Asheboro, Lexington, not much is going on down there, and it looks to be the case still. That might change over the next few hours, but overall, not the case right now. Remember, thunderstorms, they're like little Pac-Men. They want to eat and kind of gobble up all their storm fuel. In this case, they run off of heat and humidity. Where is that right now? Well, it's in these areas. So it might stand to reason to me that we would see the storm threat kind of shifting into our southern counties as we go into the night. It could linger through 7, 8, 9, even 10 o'clock or so before we kind of relax a little bit and go into our overnight hours. I'll leave you with the 7-day forecast. This is over the next couple of days. Excuse me there, I ran into a chair. But we are looking ahead toward tomorrow. Temperature right around 90 degrees. There will still be a chance of a shower or storm for the afternoon. Pretty similar to today, but the threat of heat is a little lower. The threat of storms is a little lower as well. Saturday and Sunday, mostly dry. That's your weather.